Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And first of all, thanks to IPRI for inviting me to join in this discussion. And I will immediately comment that my dear friend and colleague Riaz Muhammad Khan is always a very difficult act to follow. But I shall attempt it with a slightly broader and what might appear to be a relatively pessimistic analysis, which I actually do believe is actually more realistic and indeed optimistic than it might initially sound. In Afghanistan or anywhere else, the overwhelming context is climate catastrophe, possible nuclear conflict which could have worldwide impact, the violent impact of corporate capitalist governance, anticipated waves of pandemics, and the terminal effects of such a complex and dangerous context. The narrower diplomatic context for Afghanistan is provided by the military and strategic presence of the US and the still uncertain prospect of a complete US military withdrawal. A complete US military withdrawal will affect its political presence in Afghanistan and the region. The US will want a continuing political and economic presence, if only because of its Cold War with China. During the previous Cold War, the US sought to influence the periphery of the Soviet Union through regional alliances and an array of measures that would today be part of hybrid warfare. US soft power, essentially the appeal of its image, was as influential as its hard power, which comprised unmatched military power, cutting-edge technology, and global economic strength. US soft power has, in my view, been declining since the end of the Cold War with the Soviet Union. Since 9/11, and now under the dangerously degenerate Trump, who is the face of a pathologically evil political culture and a virulently diseased socioeconomic order, US soft power is fast disappearing. The US does not need military bases in other countries to project power. Nevertheless, it has 1,000 bases and facilities around the world. In order to deny as much of China's periphery to China as possible, the US needs politically and financially dependent elites ruling in China's neighborhood. Neither Afghanistan nor Pakistan will be an exception to the US national strategy to halt the rise of China. The US does not want conflict if it can derail China's progress towards effective global parity. But this may already be a bridge too far, in which case serious conflict with China becomes a serious possibility and therefore a serious US priority. Accordingly, serious US pressure on Pakistan to distance itself from China will mount. Hence the importance of India, despite its recent reversals, as a regional influential for the US with regard to stabilizing a pro-US order in Afghanistan and the region, piling the pressure on a recalcitrant Pakistan, and obstructing China's BRI and CPEC projects. However, India's great power aspirations are stymied by China's emerging cooperation with other SAARC countries, especially Pakistan. Nevertheless, an even more anti-China India remains the best option for the US to counter Chinese influence in Central Asia and South Asia and the adjoining Indian Ocean region. Moreover, Russia and Pakistan are considered by some to be potential weak links in China's counter strategy towards US global and Indian regional hegemony. Russia's weakness is the relatively narrow base of its economy, its latent fear of China, and its traditional cooperation with India. Pakistan's weakness is its inability to exit the soft state syndrome which renders it both a vulnerable target and an unstable and therefore unreliable ally. Pakistan's ruling elite interests and its national interests are seldom aligned. This fact is on daily display and is especially evident during national crises. As a result, East Pakistan was lost, Kashmir is in danger of being lost, essential Afghan goodwill is forfeited, and good economic and political governance is impossible. Moreover, no lessons are learned. According to one study, Pakistan ranks 148th among countries with regard to handling the COVID-19 crisis, far behind India and Bangladesh. It is the third or fourth most dangerous COVID-19 country. The government cannot get the people to follow even basic life-saving SOPs. As a result, the WHO has given quite a critical assessment of Pakistan, and some estimates, local estimates, Pakistani estimates, put the possible figure of cases at over 1 million by the end of August. The moving balance between saving lives and boosting the economy of so-called smart lockdowns is decided by the business and trading classes rather than the friendless and unorganized bottom half of the population, which to my mind is pure class warfare. This is because in Pakistan, elite agendas and interests always prevail over human development and nation building. Elites never pay a price for the resulting national disasters. The people do. The US will work on these national weaknesses to disrupt Pakistan's cooperation with China. Accordingly, China will not close the door on India despite significantly increased tension between them in recent days. Moreover, China and India share Muslim problems, while Kashmir and Xinjiang are not legally comparable. They raise comparable political concerns in Delhi and Beijing. Accordingly, Pakistan's Kashmir policy needs to be systematically coordinated with China's broader strategy. China does not want Pakistan to spring unwelcome surprises, especially as it is a key component of its response to the Indo-US challenge. Unless Pakistan develops a national transformation capability to deal with its multiple challenges at home and abroad, it cannot sustain itself as a strategic partner for China. Nor will it be able to play a stabilizing role in Afghanistan with the support of the Afghan people. Most educated Afghans, Pashtun and non-Pashtun alike, wonder why Pakistan wants the Taliban to rule or dominate Afghanistan when it would never entertain that prospect for itself in Pakistan. The Taliban also remember how Pakistan turned on them after 9/11 and facilitated the US invasion of Afghanistan and their removal from government after being the only country that recognized their government. Neither Kabul nor the Taliban trust Pakistan today, despite its active Afghan diplomacy. That is why the problem of India in Afghanistan for Pakistan will not be resolved even if the Taliban regain power in Kabul. Climate catastrophe, moreover, is rendering conventional strategic thinking obsolete. Only a Green New Deal, GND, offers a context for successful diplomacy and national security. GND is a comprehensive, expensive, and existentially urgent project. Unfortunately, it cannot be implemented by a soft state and won't be implemented by a corporate capitalist come militarist state. Within these parameters, an active US military presence in Afghanistan will eliminate any prospect for peace and stability. An increased Indian role on behalf of US strategic interests in Afghanistan will ensure continued Pakistani intervention. Tensions will escalate between Washington and Kabul on the one hand and Islamabad on the other. It will become impossible for Pakistan to broaden its support base in Afghanistan beyond the Taliban. An even more belligerent India will threaten Pakistan. Many of Pakistan's elite perversely believe a continued US military presence in Afghanistan will somehow contain chaos in Afghanistan, minimize the prospect of Afghan refugees coming to or staying in Pakistan, enhance Pakistan's diplomatic relevance, and reduce the Indian threat. However, if a limited breakthrough in India-Pakistan relations was somehow possible, it could avert many of these negative developments and perverse perceptions. But that would require a breakthrough on Kashmir, which seems impossible under Modi or any likely successor. Despite this, can the Pakistan leadership launch an initiative towards India for a viable India-Pakistan dialogue on Kashmir and other issues, and alleviate the unspeakable human rights situation in Indian-occupied Kashmir, which exhibits all the preliminary stages of genocide? Unfortunately, Modi has in effect denounced the similar agreement, which is the only mutually agreed basis for an India-Pakistan dialogue. Moreover, human rights violations in Indian-occupied Kashmir derive from Kashmiri resistance to the forcible denial of their political rights. Accordingly, the destabilizing impact of Indo-Pakistan rivalry on Afghanistan will continue. This is a scenario in which Pakistan cannot win without transforming itself. But as a soft state, it cannot. I'm just a couple of minutes more.
Please continue, sir. We had lost you for a fraction of a second. I'm sorry. Please continue, sir.
Okay. How much have you lost? The point of it would be lost altogether if you haven't heard me. Alternatively, Pakistan can de-link its Afghan and Indian policies and instead adopt a generous policy towards Afghanistan, despite its limited means, competing priorities, and the prevailing mutual mistrust. If Pakistan can summon the policy imagination and political will, it could regain Afghan goodwill and nullify Indian efforts to keep the two countries apart. Mutually agreed political cooperation, border management, refugee repatriation, transit trade, investment and joint development, water sharing, cultural exchanges, etc., would need to be massively prioritized, upgraded, and resourced. CPEC could even become KPEC, including Afghanistan. Pakistan, however, will need to develop an independent economic viability, which again, despite all the expert talk, is beyond the will of soft states. This is due to massive and deeply entrenched structures of corruption and formidable unrepresentative power centers that usurp the functions of political institutions. The national interest has long been defined against the people's interests. Accordingly, feasible alternative policies are ruled out, and Pakistan is denied credible Afghan and Kashmir policies. Without good governance, there can be no successful diplomacy except damage control. The transformation of Pakistan will require relentless commitment and struggle, sustainable movements, constant messaging and communication, organization, mobilization, institution building, and above all, understanding the essence of Islam as an integrated and mutually reinforcing commitment to faith, science, and individual and collective human rights. Governments in Pakistan will not attempt any of this. They represent power structures, not the people who elect them. Only the people can, if for themselves. Allama Iqbal's wake-up call to the people still rings true. As khab-e giran khez, so do the messages of invincible hope of Faiz Ahmad Faiz and Habib Jalim. What Napoleon said of China applies to the fears of Pakistan's ruling elites. The people of Pakistan are a sleeping giant. When they awake, they shall shake our world. In the end, I'd like to reiterate Riaz's good wishes to Sadiq And I do think he's the correct person for an extremely important job, and which is a challenge and an opportunity for Pakistan in Afghanistan. Thank you.